black people of Diepsloot, those are the people who are supposed to be on a flight to the United States. The Afrikaners are simply being used in the process.
I'm not defending it. What I'm saying
Now, defending me, welcome.
No.
Trump was concerned about crime in South Africa. He was supposed to rescue the people of Nyanga. Then the rest of the country banned.
The South African situation continues to interest everybody, and we are hearing from some great analysts on the state of the nation, and none of our analysts are more popular than Prince Mashele, who joins me today. Prince, welcome back to the State of the Nation.
Thanks, Mike. I didn't know that I was popular.
You are.
Maybe you are popularizing.
You're my man. you're the popular guy.
Good to be here.
Because you speak a lot of sense. You manage to break down situations in ways that people weren't really sort of thinking. So, we're going to lead off with the situation as we record this. The hot news has been the first flight of South African refugees has taken place, and 49 Afrikaner refugees have left South Africa and arrived in the USA, and Donald Trump has been quite vocal about the bad things that are happening. And it's caused outrage in South Africa to say, we don't recognize what you're talking about, but Donald Trump is holding the line, and these refugees have now landed. What do you make of the whole situation?
Yeah, look, it's obviously a mess. Donald Trump is not someone to take very seriously as a leader who thinks before he acts. In the first place, he has never been to Africa, let alone South Africa. So his picture of Africa and South Africa, it's completely distorted. It's a world of the imagination. He does not know what he's talking about when he says Afrikaners are being persecuted in South Africa. There is nothing like that. Number one. Number two, he claims that Afrikaners' land is being taken away from them. Anybody who knows South Africa and who lives in South Africa knows that that's not correct. It would be very interesting, by the way, if the South African government were to give us the details of those 49 Afrikaners in terms of age, education, employment history, and property ownership history. I'll be surprised if these are human beings who owned farms that were productive and profitable. As we speak now, there is a conference called NAMPO in Bothaville, somewhere in the Free State. It takes place every year that showcases agricultural products and what is taking place in the farming space in South Africa. And I've been there. Many years I've been there. What you see there, the vast majority are white farmers. Most of them wealthy, actually. You see a fleet of small aircrafts. They come with their planes. And none of those people, by the way, thinks that they are being persecuted. They are doing farming and they feed us every day. The last point is this. Even if you were to talk about land ownership, you don't need to drive far from where we're sitting in Alexandra or Diepsloot and go and see the way black people live. Go around the country and show me a settlement that looks like Alexandra or Diepsloot that is populated by Afrikaners. I mean, the black people of Diepsloot don't have land. They live in tents, in shacks. Those are the people, if Trump was really serious about people who are persecuted and who are poor, those are the people who are supposed to be on a flight to the United States. So there is an element of racism about it. He has decided to rescue white people, and obviously he can't rescue black people who are poor. So that's my take.
Obviously, he's trying to send a message. But certainly him and his advisors are clearly trying to send a message to the South African government that they're watching and they're prepared to act. They've got a problem with the Expropriation Act. They've got a problem with crime statistics. And there is no great sort of genocide, but there is a crime problem. The farms may not be taken, but certainly legislation has been moved into place that could be deemed to be problematic.
No. By the way, he's not worried about crime. If he was worried about crime, the people who are killed the most in South Africa, you just have to look at crime statistics, are in Nyanga, in the Western Cape, in Mdantsane in the Eastern Cape. There's no Afrikaner who lives there. There's no white person who lives there. So people who are being killed the most in South Africa, factually, are black. So if Trump was concerned about crime in South Africa, he was supposed to rescue the people of Nyanga to Texas, because they are being murdered as we speak. So that's not what he's interested in. What he's interested in, he has told us, there is an executive order that is signed about South Africa, and he mentions the sins that South Africa has committed there. Sin number one, South Africa is causing up with America's enemies. And specifically, he mentions Iran. That has got nothing to do with people who are being murdered in South Africa. It has got to do with a policy of the ANC that Trump does not like. And this is a policy of the ANC, by the way. It's not a policy of South Africa, because most South Africans, by the way, wouldn't care really whether Iran has a relationship with South Africa or not. So Trump's main problem is it's South Africa injuring American interests internationally. He mentions Israel, by the way, in that executive order, that South Africa has taken Israel to the International Court of Justice. So it's very clear in terms of why he is acting the way he is acting. The Afrikaners are simply being used in the process because he thinks that if he does that, it's going to embarrass the South African government, in particular the ANC component of the South African government. That's what it is. And we should isolate the issues, because people must not misunderstand what I'm saying. It's not like I support the ANC policy, foreign policy. No, I don't support it, for example. So, for example, this friendship with Iran, I think it's a terrible thing. There is no reason why South Africa should treat Iran as if it's our strategic friend. I actually don't know what is in South Africa's interest that should make us to be close with Iran. I don't see it. So I disagree with the ANC. But we must not make the mistake of thinking that Trump is acting the way he's acting because he has the interests of South Africans at heart. No. He's acting the way he's acting because he has American interests at heart. That's what he's doing. Yeah.
What do you make of South Africa's infatuation with Iran? Obviously, the rumors have swirled around that, whenever the ANC has financial problems, there's a meeting with Iranian officials and suddenly there's no, all the backlog is cleared, all the money comes in and the campaigning starts. Do you think it's as simple as that?
I think that there is a corrupt relationship between the ANC and Iran. I've seen the Iranians, by the way, in Litula House and cameras taking pictures, meeting the ANC.
That's been on social media.
Yes. So I'm not manufacturing this stuff. Now, the question is, what is it between the ANC and Iran? There must be something corrupt going on there. I don't have the evidence. My worry is that whatever is behind the relationship, that relationship between a political party and Iran is messing up our national interests. So we are being punished by the Americans, for example. All of us as South Africans will feel the brand. We are feeling the brand for sins committed by the ANC, not committed by the majority of South Africans. So you would have people losing jobs, by the way, in the automobile industry. BMW in Roslin will no longer export X3 hybrid to the US because of higher trade tariffs. People losing jobs in PE, Quebec, Volkswagen, because we will now be exporting less cars to the American market. That stuff is going to injure ordinary South Africans because of a relationship between a political party called the ANC and Iran. So my sense is that there's something corrupt going on there, but I don't know. I don't have the evidence. And as South Africans, we must be vocal. We must demand that the ANC must tell us why is it that they are injuring our interests as citizens, as a country, as a nation, by causing up with Iran. What is it that we are getting as a country from Iran? I cannot see what we are getting from Iran. In fact, if you look at what we are getting from the Americans, we're getting more from the Americans as a country, by the way, in terms of their investments, including the preferential access, trade access that they've given us through AGOA. So if there are interests we should be protecting, are the interests that we are getting from the Americans, not from Iran.
And if it's a struggle question, South Africa had no real relationship with Iran in the struggle. They weren't exactly allies, and America put enormous financial pressure on the apartheid regime to bring the economy to its knees, which sent everybody to the negotiating table. One would say that the Sullivan Codes were far more important than any battle fought in Angola.
No, you see, and you're getting to the nub of it. See, the ANC fellows, their foreign policy is archaic, is very old. They don't understand how foreign policy in a modern world works. This idea that at some point the ANC was given political and financial support by Russia during the liberation struggle, therefore the ANC and South Africa must continue to be friends with Russia. It's actually an old concept. It doesn't work that way. Let me give you a historic anecdote. The Soviet Union used to support China when the communists were fighting the nationalists in China under Mao Zedong. And for the longest time, that support, the Soviet Union was presided over by Stalin. When Stalin dies, Khrushchev takes over and embarks on a process called de-Stalinization. And Mao becomes very angry. And the relationship between China and the Soviet Union sours. And these two countries start fighting. They're no longer friends. Despite the fact that just yesterday, the Soviet Union used to pump a lot of resources into China. So the fact that yesterday you were my friend doesn't mean that you will always be my friend. So we must not be stuck in the past. We must not get stuck in the past. And that's the problem with the ANC. Whoever supported the ANC in the past, by the way, the leaders of those countries who supported the ANC are not even alive, by the way. Russia is not the Soviet Union under Putin. It's a completely different country. So I don't understand the ANC's foreign policy, really. I think it's an anachronism. It's stuck in the past. They need to wake up. Foreign policy works like this. You must look which side of your bread is buttered. That's how nations today conduct foreign policy. They protect and they pursue their national interests. I understand the moral argument. But at the end of the day, the workers who are going to lose jobs in Roslyn are not going to get hungry in their house and say it's okay because morally the ANC is justified to act the way they do. They want food on the table. So I think that the ANC must be made to wake up and smell the coffee. South Africans are becoming poorer and poorer. What you must do when that happens is that you need to fashion a foreign policy that will bring investment into South Africa, and whatever arrangements we have with the world, whether with China, with Russia, with the Americans, that give us jobs locally, we must protect that with our dear life.
Which brings us back to the important part, the issue that sits in South Africa at the heart of problem in South Africa, and that is our poor economic performance. Now, obviously, the South African economy has been a disappointment for 15 years. We understand where the roots are of that. The Zondo Commission gave us 5 volumes explaining why the economy, what happened to the economy 15 years ago. But the situation has been made worse in the Ramaphosa era. And now we've got a raft of economic killing legislation that's been passed.
Yeah, here is a bottom line, and this will take us into an interesting economic history of South Africa. In the main, South Africa has been governed by three groupings, and they did specific things in the economic space. The British, when they were ruling this whole thing called South Africa, they created mining houses, and they used mining houses to employ their poor and to enrich their citizens here in South Africa and back in the UK. And they also built schools for their children, and they used state power for that purpose. That's a summary of what the British did in South Africa. Then the second grouping, the Afrikaners, when they took over, what did they do? They created parastatals, your telecoms of this world, your Escoms of this world. Eskom was created before 1948, but it was Smarts actually, an Afrikaner leader, and Hendrik van der Bijl. They created parastatals. They also created factories in the private space, your Ruperts of this world, by the way. And they employed their people, and they created wealth for their citizens. They also built schools for their children. So in other words, the Afrikaners grew the economy, just like the English also grew the economy. Then comes the third grouping, call them the blacks, under the ANC since 1994. They did not create a single sector of the economy. So if you looked at the economy, you wouldn't find a single sector that was created by the ANC. What did they do? They demanded that their comrades must be given shares in Afrikaner, English, and Jewish companies. They didn't create their own companies and created wealth for themselves. They certainly didn't create anything that created jobs for black people. So what they did, they introduced laws that were trying to pull down the economy, not to grow the economy. So at the end of it, after 30 years, you have a few black millionaires connected to the ANC. You have a massive mass of black people who are unemployed, uneducated, and unemployable. That's the summary of the ANC's economic performance over the past 30 years. So we must call a spade a spade. The ANC does not know how to manage an economy. Full stop. Which is why I'm one of those, and I say it without fear, that the ANC, the sooner it is removed from government, the better. If we continue with the ANC, just imagine if you were to double the damage that the ANC has done, what would happen? More and more South Africans would get unemployed. You would have more and more roads with more and more potholes. You will be without electricity. Today, if you live in Sandton, you are without water. That's the damage that has been done by the ANC. So yes, you are correct. The ANC's policies have been a disaster in the economic space, without a doubt.
But some of their spin doctrine has been quite good, because they have got a critical mass of South Africans calling these laws, which have, as you say, really damaged the economy, calling it transformation, and kind of shaming people to, and I mean, I've had it when I've had these discussions, to say you're anti-transformation. What do you think of that slur, that tactic of saying anybody that doesn't agree with these policies is just anti-transformation, hates blacks?
It's obviously nonsense. Yes, I'll tell you who is singing this anti-transformation chorus. And this is where people get confused. There is this idea that the majority of people are pushing for transformation, black people are pushing for transformation. It's all nonsense. If you went to the rural areas of South Africa, Tuba, KwaMhlanga uyalingana, Chidimbini in Venda, wherever, you will never hear ordinary blacks in that village calling for transformation. No. In the first place, they don't even know what it looks like. They've never seen this transformation thing that they hear on radio. The people who are championing it, in the main, are black middle class and black millionaires. Why? They are buttering their own bread. These are the people who move around Sandton, They are trying to intimidate white people who own companies to open up so that they want to come in. By the way, when they come in, they're not coming in on behalf of poor blacks in the townships or poor blacks in the rural areas. No, they are coming in on behalf of themselves and their own families. They want to buy Range Rovers. They want to drink expensive whiskey. That's what they want to do. So we must be very careful not to confuse that group of people who are talking transformation with the majority of black people. We have been left behind who live in RDP houses. So what I am calling for when I say the ANC must be removed in government, I'm calling exactly for that, which is we have to call out these black middle class and black millionaires who are benefiting at the expense of the majority of black people. We must actually make the majority of black people aware that their resources are being stolen by the black middle class and the black millionaires who are connected to the ANC, so that we begin a process in South Africa that will genuinely lift the majority of black people who are mired in poverty in rural areas and in the townships. For example, the ANC has destroyed public education. They're talking transformation in Lutule House. But go to a school in the rural areas. Go to a school in the townships. You see, I'm sitting where I'm sitting because I went to school. So if the surest way to lift the greatest number of human beings from poverty is through education, that's exactly what the ANC and SADTU have destroyed in black communities. They are busy talking transformation. What is transformation if it can't lift the majority of black people out of poverty?
Now, Prince, what do you make of, we've obviously, these are policies of the ANC's, but those specific policies are heavily supported by parties like MK, Mkhonto Wesizwe Party, as well as the EFF. So, I mean, I do know that they birthed out of the ANC, but do you think they have anything else to offer other than more of the same?
Just look at MK. It's the ANC. Look at the top echelon of MK. Let me mention names. Lucky Montan, right?
It's time for our next State of the Nation breakfast, 20th of June at the Sandton Convention Centre, and what a treat. This time, we've got JJ Tabani and Neil De Beer as our guests. I'll be hosting. Book your own table. If you want more details, go to our website, sona.co.za. Book your own table, come on the day and say hello.
From the ANC, we know who's Lucky Montan, right? From PRASA and so on. He has to sing the transformation chorus because that's what he knows. He's very angry that he has actually lost privileges. So when he says transformation, he means that he wants to be CEO of PRASA again so that he can buy an expensive suit, expensive house, a Range Rover. Brian Molefe, we know him, right? Look at them. Floyd Shibambo. These are the people who have been on the gravy train of the ANC's transformation agenda. These people, if you look at how they have been living, by the way, they've been living like millionaires, right? Now, they are now in MK. They are claiming to be representing the poor. No, they are not representing the poor. They are representing their own jackets and their own families. In fact, they are fighting to reclaim the privilege that they lost because their faction has lost out in the ANC. That's what this MK thing is about. It's got nothing to do with the poor. The poor are being used. What do they get from MK, the poor? They get a T-shirt, a green T-shirt. They get a ride in a bus to a stadium. They get a Streetwise 2 from KFC. And after they've been taken to the stadium and they've been told who to vote for, they are dumped back in the village where they were picked up. And they are still poor. They live in hovels. I mean, think of the poor of Nkandla, right? They live next door to a palace owned by Jacob Zuma, right? Who, inverted commas, has been fighting for the poor. The guy lives like a King Solomon, surrounded by poverty. He doesn't even care about the poverty that surrounds his Solomonic palace. So let's call it out. Let's call a spade a spade. There is this transformation nonsense that we hear from MK and the ANC is a subterfuge meant to get poor black people to vote these thieves back into power so that the thieves can steal more and more, so that the poor and their children can continue to be trapped in poverty. By the way, these people, the thieves, they don't even want black people to be educated. I mean, the Jacob Zuma grouping, by the way, they are the ones who came up with this clever black thing. Anti-clever black. Who are clever blacks? Clever blacks are children of the poor who went to school. They became middle class. And Jacob Zuma and them, they don't like those people like me. Why? Because we can understand, we can't be fooled. And we tell society when we see them manufacturing things to fool to fool society. So MK is not there for the poor. It's there to protect the privileges of the leaders of this thing.
And the EFF?
It's the same story. It's the same story. I mean, just if you think I am lying, anybody who thinks that I'm lying, let Julius Malema open up. Go to where he lives. You must look at how he's driven. He's surrounded by bodyguards with rifles. He lives like a billionaire, Julius Malema. After Parliament, he takes off the red overalls. I mean, I've seen pictures of his shoes. He wears these shiny shoes that are so expensive. I don't even know the names myself. Right? The whole EFF thing is an infrastructure meant to look after the privileges of Julius Malema and his circle of friends. Full stop. Nothing more than that. That's what this thing is about. So the ANC, the MK, and the EFF, the top layer of these guys, these are fat cats. They live like millionaires. They are rich. They drink expensive whiskey and champagne and all of that. So they wear expensive suits. The EFF is the same, is not different.
Now, obviously, we saw mass purges in the EFF. We saw Floyd Chivambu leaving. We saw Dali Mpofu leaving, etc., as well as some of their new signings in the off-season, you know, the Jimmy Manyes, etc.
Mm-hmm.
What is in the EFF without Julius Malema?
No, there's no EFF without Julius Malema. Julius Malema, he knows. I mean, he founded the EFF. Him and Floyd, by the way, they sat somewhere, I don't know what they were drinking, and decided that they are going to come up with this thing called economic freedom in our lifetime. They even thought to fool the poor will wear overalls so that the poor will think that we are part of them. Before that moment, by the way, these fellows, Julius Malema was so fat, he had even collapsed financially a province called Limpopo. So this whole, they set up this thing in order for them to perpetuate their privileges. But the bottom line is, if Julius Malema were to leave the EFF tomorrow, this whole thing would collapse. So there's no EFF without Julius Malema. There is no doubt about it.
Is there an MK without Jacob Zuma?
Without a doubt, there is no MK without Jacob Zuma. And I've been saying this, and people don't want me to say this. I will say it again. The day Jacob Zuma drops dead, that thing is going to fall apart like a house of cards. They will start fighting as if there is no tomorrow. Remember, the headquarters of MK is in Kandla, in a private home of Jacob Zuma. The children would close the gate and say, "This is our father's thing. You are not coming in here." Even those who call themselves leaders, Floyd, Dali, and all of them, they will start fighting amongst each other. In the second place, there have never been elections in MK. By the way, Jacob Zuma said there shall be no elections in MK. So how are they going to replace Jacob Zuma? Because their party believes in a non-election policy. So they will fight. This whole thing will fall apart like a house of cards. That's why I'm not worried about it. I don't factor it when I think of South Africa's future.
Okay, so let's talk about the future, because if we obviously had a seismic shift in the last elections, where, you know, the big sort of feature of the 2024 election was the loss of 17 percentage points of the ANC support, from 57 down to 40%. But now the story has become a lot less clear, because you've had the government of national unity for a year now, and we've seen a couple of by-elections, and the by-elections are giving us sort of confused signals. Where are you seeing, what's your temperature check on progress of the various political parties as we sit now?
My sense is that the ANC has declined, and it will decline even further going into next year's local government elections. And certainly in 2029, the ANC will cross the 30% mark, coming down. I mean, remember, you've correctly observed, from 57% to 40%. So just think of that trajectory continuing downward. The ANC crosses 30%, it sits somewhere around 25%, 26%. That's why I see the ANC. In 2034, there is no ANC in a South African government. There will still be a coalition government without the ANC. So the ANC is being processed out. That's number one. Number two, I see the DA being stuck in the lower 20s, not being able to cross the 25% mark going up. Why? Because the DA in the main is a white party, and it refuses to be a truly South African party where both blacks and whites are accommodated and they lead together. So the DA will get stuck because the white population, I mean, it's relatively smaller compared to the black population. I mean, they must thank the colours, by the way, because the colours are voting for the DA. With GAYTON McKENZIE's party, the DA will actually be arrested. It won't grow in the coloured community. So that's the DA. The EFF will decline. The signs are there already. It's stagnating. With the departure of Floyd, Dali and them, the EFF will not grow. It will actually go down. So by 2029, the EFF will come down to about 6%, 5%. So it's going down. So it's not going to grow. And there is no party in South Africa, by the way, that has lost electoral support and regained it. So the EFF is going down into the dustbin of history. And then you are left with MK, one of the biggest parties. MK will grow in 2029. They will govern KwaZulu-Natal. If Zuma is still alive, the premier of KZN will be coming from MK in 2029. And that will push the MK up, by the way, because in KZN there are numbers. Remember, KZN is the second largest province in terms of population in South Africa. And they appeal mainly to black people in KZN. So that will show up the MK party. And even nationally, the MK party, on the strength of the numbers in KZN and parts of Mpumalanga and the bit in Gauteng, it will grow. So I see the ANC meeting the MK party. As the ANC goes down, the MK party going up. So you will have a situation in 2029 where the DA 2020 is in the lower 20s, 23, 24%. The ANC 25, 26%. They will still have to form a coalition government, but it will be weaker. And then the MK will be around in the 20s also. So that's where we are going. But to cut a long story short, South Africa will be governed by a coalition government for a minimum of 15 years. And then some party will emerge down the road that will take over as a majority, but not in the next 15 years.
Okay, but the maths isn't mathing, as they say, because on that scenario, we're short of about 20 to 30%
yes,
of voters that will vote. I'm saying, we had quite a fairly low percentage turnout, and I think that's part of democracy. I don't see this as some kind of major threat. When people don't go to the polls, that's also a vote. That's fine. But the percentages remain the percentages. It's percentages of people that vote. If we've got the DA making up, let's say, 5% on the ANC, and the ANC losing 15% where they are, there's 10%. So that 10% we give to
smaller parties. Yeah, we spread it.
So which of the smaller parties, I mean, GAYTON McKENZIE, let's start there with Patriotic Alliance. He has become the biggest supporter of Cyril Ramaphosa in the country. I did a live event with him. My word, it was a love fest. All he could say was how much he loves Cyril Ramaphosa, and how much he should be supported. And he's going to back him on everything. At that point, he was going to back him on the VAT increase. He's going to back him regardless. What do you think that his message will continue to resonate with these voters?
No, certainly McKenzie's message will resonate with the colored component of our population. Here's the thing about South Africa, and we've got to be very honest about it. identity politics is a serious business in South Africa. So this idea that, and there are many whites who think that way, that no, it's black people who vote on the basis of their skin color. That's nonsense. White people also vote on the basis of their skin color. By the way, I was at an event a few years ago addressing white people, and they were praising Nelson Mandela. You know, Nelson Mandela, if he was alive, and this. I said, but guys, you didn't vote for Nelson Mandela. Yeah. I mean, Nelson Mandela is the favorite of white people, but now they did not vote for him. So white people vote for white parties. Colored people have voted for McKENZIE. They will continue to. He will grow, by the way, not dramatically, but he will grow a bit. So yes, he will grow, but he's not gonna reach 10%. It's not gonna get there. If he goes up, the ceiling is 5%. So their party will always be a small party. But I'm sure they would be happy for as long as they are invited into whatever coalition.
They don't mind which coalition.
They don't mind which coalition. As long as they are there, they negotiate, they are given 1 or 2 ministers, GAYTON McKENZIE would be happy. The smaller parties will get these votes that will not go to the ANC, the DA, and the EFF. But they are not the ones we should look at. The parties we must look at is the ANC, the DA, MK party, and the EFF. In the short term, the party to watch is MK party. Because as I have suggested to you, it is the only party, by the way, that is growing exponentially. And I predict, if Zuma is still alive, it will be the fastest growing party in 2029. Likely to cross the 20% mark going up. They are now sitting at 14%. They participated in the election for the first time. They got 15%. There is no party in the history of South Africa post-1994 that did what MK did. So that is the party we should watch. The smaller parties, I don't think we should be worried about them. They will be there making a few noises, but they will not shift the political needle.
What do you think of the tactic of ACTIONSA? I know that you have in the past been close to him and Mashaba. What do you make of this change of direction of ACTIONSA?
No, look, I've said this before. I think that the strategic mistake made by ACTIONSA was to dribble its supporters. ACTIONSA, when it was formed, the whole world knows that. They said they were formed to remove the ANC from government. And then they've changed that. They're now in a coalition government with the ANC in Tshwane. And that has confused ACTIONSA supporters, in my view. That's my reading. Now they've decided to change tactics to be a player in national politics. And the ANC is using ACTIONSA as a backdoor when they are stuck in a corner of the government of national unit. My sense is that ACTIONSA will not grow. My sense is that either it will be stuck where it is at the national level electorally, or it will decline. So the fate suffered by smaller parties, ACTIONSA will not escape that fate. That's my reading of ACTIONSA. So I don't see a great future, by the way, for ACTIONSA. Just like I don't see a great future for Rise Mzansi. I don't see a great future for Bosa. My view would have been that these parties, ACTIONSA, Bosa, Rise Mzansi, the leaders of these parties should have come together to form one political party, but it didn't happen. The rest is history.
Now, let's talk about potential sort of events that could happen. We were sitting here before we were sitting here 5 years ago. We wouldn't have seen the rise of MK necessarily. I'm saying there was an event that changed the political landscape. What potential changes could you see to the political landscape, right, that we are perhaps not thinking of, right, in the analysis? You do a lot of this. You think about it a lot, as do I. And where do you see sort of potential hallelujahs coming from?
You see, there is talk of Patrice Motsepe.
Yes.
Entering politics.
Yes.
If Patrice Motsepe were to enter politics through a new party of his own, that would be a game changer. Because he has two things. of three things that you need to succeed in politics. He has money, and he has a semblance of credibility. So most people...
And the third thing, name recognition.
Yeah, name recognition. Yeah, he's got name recognition. So everyone knows who's Patrice Motsepe. If you went to a village and say who's Prince Mashele, villagers would scratch their heads. But if you said who's Patrice Motsepe, they would know that is. So these three things he has. If he were to form his own political party, I think it would be a game changer.
What?
But what I am hearing is that he wants to take over the ANC. That will not be a game changer. What will do, it will actually destroy him. So he will destroy himself. So if Patrice goes through the ANC, I don't see the political tree in South Africa being shaken. Cyril Ramaphosa is Patrice's brother-in-law. I'm sure it's part of that plan. And he thinks that his brother-in-law, Patrice, can rescue the ANC. No. What will happen is the ANC will destroy Cyril Ramaphosa's brother-in-law, Patrice Motsepe. So the game changer would be if he were to enter on his own through a new political party. So there will be no game changer if it's still the ANC.
Can I push back on that?
Sure.
Push back because and I'm talking about the effect, not because of any kind of support. I take your point that a new vehicle could do something, and we saw it with Jacob Zuma coming in with a new vehicle and getting 14%. But even with a worst case scenario, him coming through on an ANC ticket, he'll get more than 20%. Do you know what I mean? He's almost guaranteed that support.
No, it's not.
Which is not guaranteed if he comes through on his own in his own vehicle.
Yeah, but there's I hear you, but there's something you're missing. You think that everybody in the ANC will open their arms and say, we welcome the Messiah, Patrice Motsepe. It's not going to happen that way. It's not going to happen that way. I can assure you, there are people in the ANC who want to be president of the ANC. People like Fikile Mbalula, people like Paul Mashatile. Those people will fight tooth and nail to make sure that Patrice Motsepe doesn't come in. And they will mobilize factions within the ANC. So it's not as if the whole ANC will say, no, hallelujah, come in. So that entire process is going to divide the ANC further, and the fight is going to be ugly. And that is going to undermine public confidence. So if the ANC united behind a leader were to get 25%, under Patrice Motsepe, if he comes, that process will be bruising. He would actually get even less than 20%. So the ANC is coming to muddy waters in the ANC. He's not coming to unite it.
And an ANC, if we're looking at outliers, and not such outliers, an ANC under Mashatile, who seems to be a sort of a shill for the MK EFF cause, if I could put it that way. Do you think he will draw votes away from MK, away from EFF?
No. Look, here is the ANC. Here is the thing about the ANC. If the ANC did not have Cyril Ramaphosa in the previous two elections, by now the ANC would be out of power. The ANC hung on Cyril Ramaphosa's image. And they knew it, by the way. They conducted polls that told them that your leader, Cyril Ramaphosa, is more popular than your party. So they hung on the credibility of their leader. So the credibility of a leader is a big factor in politics. Just like Action SA, in the main, hangs on the image of Herman Mashaba. So if you remove Herman Mashaba from Action SA, I'm not sure if anything would remain. So, Paul Mashatile, if he takes over from Cyril Ramaphosa, he is going to damage the ANC, because the perception out there is that Paul Mashatile is a thug, he is corrupt. That's the perception out there. And scandals are coming out. We see what newspapers are writing. So Paul Mashatile doesn't have a beautiful image in the public mind. So if he takes over the ANC is going to decline even further. So the ANC is caught between a rock and a hard place. And if you look within it, you cannot see anyone who has a good image and a better credibility that can carry the ANC. If you remove Cyril, the whole thing looks like a bunch of thugs.
And of course, Mbalula is just a figure of fun.
Serious people in South Africa and in the world don't take Mbalula seriously. They actually think he's a clown.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, by the way. Mbalula, if he is a dipstick of how things have gone wrong in the ANC.
Yeah. Now, what about, you mentioned it earlier, that the DA, for example, holding this line of not being a party that appeals to the majority of South Africans. Why they do it, God alone knows. But anyway, they look set. But let's just say we're talking things that can happen, outlying events. What happens if they vault one of their senior black members, maybe one of the ministers that they've got, into the leadership role?
Number one, they won't do it. Remember, Tony Leon told us that Musimaiman was an experiment gone wrong.
Yes.
So they've woken up. They will not go back to that experiment.
Although, to be fair, there were two ways of reading what he had to say. I'm not defending it. What I'm saying.
No, defend him. You're welcome.
No, it's not that. It's that you could say that he was alluding to, because he sort of said it on the show, that the experiment was bringing somebody who had never voted for the DA before.
That's sophistry, man.
Okay, so
that's a sophistry.
Okay, because what the point that I'm saying is that right now, people like Saviwe Khwarube, Soli Malati, for example, have got some,
that's what white
profile.
That's what white people think.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not what the majority of South Africans think.
Yes.
The majority of South Africans have witnessed the circus. The circus was Musi, the leader of the first black leader of the DA, was booted out of the DA.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And blamed.
Yeah.
By the way. Herman Mashaba, Helen, by the way, I saw the clip where she was speaking somewhere confirming that they were going to vote with the ANC in Johannesburg to remove Herman Mashaba. That's what society knows and sees. Forget about Malata. These are small fries. They're not moving any psychological needle politically. South Africans understand that at some point, the white leaders of the DA decided to experiment with a black leadership. And at some point, they decided that that thing has not worked. And they've decided they will not go down that route. South Africans understand that. It doesn't matter what Tony says, doesn't matter what Helen says. That's the point. So for as long as you have whites in the DA who are wire pullers, who believe that they can manipulate black people, the DA will be stuck. It won't grow. The formula is not complicated. If the DA want to grow, it must open up its ranks. The grassroots must be both black and white. The middle level, both black and white. The top level, you must see credible black and white co-leading that part. The DA has not done that. Even when Herman and Musi, by the way, were there, you could see that actually the way they ran Musi, they ran him like a puppet. They were pulling. Look at the people who surrounded Musi, by the way. The speech writers, the strategists, everyone was white because they had to manage this black guy because they couldn't allow him space to be himself. So the DA must rid itself of this idea that black people must be controlled. They must regard black people as equal human beings. Sit around the table and debate, disagree, agree. That's the only formula. If they don't accept that, and they don't seem to accept it now, they will go nowhere.
And I think the retreating into the Western Cape enclave doesn't help them because it doesn't expose them to the rest of South Africa to the extent that if they were based in Gauteng, for example, where that reality might just hit home a little bit more.
You can see that their strategy is, we finally have secured a corner of South Africa that we control politically. We will stick to it. We will govern it well so that we enjoy life here. Let the rest of the country burn.
Yeah.
That's the attitude. I mean, it's very clear. It's an extremely dangerous attitude. Anybody who has the interest of this country at heart must not think of parceling it out and you have a corner that works and the rest doesn't work. We have to fix the whole country. I mean, the ANC has messed up the entire country. We need to fix the entire thing. They won't be insulated from the mess up there. Remember, if ESCOM goes down, there will also be electricity problems in the Western Cape. And a lot of stuff is controlled at the national level. Crime is controlled at the national level. So I think the DA is wrong, completely wrong-headed about this thing. This belief that they can have the Western Cape and then it's hallelujah, it's heaven. Let the rest be hell.
Yeah. Just a very quick one in closing, Prince. The GNU looks like one of those marriages where just nobody wants to leave.
But they now sleep in different bedrooms.
They sleep in different bedrooms. In fact, I think somebody might have moved upstairs.
Yeah.
But for now, it looks like it's going to hold. What do you see as the big issue that could break it up?
Look, the biggest parties in the GNU, as we know, are the ANC and the DA. These two parties are aware that the majority of South Africans don't want the GNU to break up. Number one. Number two, they are also aware that those who run the economy, the private sector, don't want this thing to break up. So, neither of the two parties wants to be seen to be the one that broke it up. So the ANC, they don't like the DA, it's very clear. But they don't have the courage to say to the DA, we are booting you out of the GNU, and they won't do it. The DA also, they hate the ANC, but they don't want to walk away because they don't want to be seen to be the ones who broke this thing apart. So what will happen is these two enemies will remain in the whole thing, but they will not trust each other and they won't even negotiate with each other because the ANC now has figured out that there is a back door if you involve parties like ACTIONSA outside. So that's what we must get used to. It's going to be a very bumpy ride that goes all the way to 2027 when Cyril leaves the ANC. And after that, the whole thing will fall apart. There will be a new arrangement.
That's why Prince is the most watched analyst that we have on the State of the Nation. Prince Mashele, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting
me. To everybody, thanks to Pace Car Rental for sponsoring us and keeping us on the air. And to everybody that joined us, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again on the State of the Nation. Thank you, Prince.
Thanks, Mike.
Prince, can we?
All right.
How are we doing there? We okay with time?
Yeah, we are okay. We are okay.
Can we just do 15 minutes? You know, we've got a community now that pay us, and we what to do is we film a little bit extra.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I've got a 2 o'clock. It will take me 15 minutes to get to my next.
What is the time?
It's 10 past 1. Okay. So, yeah, we do have that.
Okay. When the streaming team isn't filming the State of the Nation, they are producing those world-class videos for companies just like yours. They have got all of the equipment, drones, microphones, whatever you need, and the technical know-how to film a proper video for your company. Visit their website.